For years, I fought against the notion of being a nerd. And as I've gotten older, I've actually learned to embrace those more nerdy aspects of my personality. And I've got some nerdy stuff that I'm gonna talk to you guys about. And some might be a little ashamed of it, but you know what? I'm gonna be honest. I could not be happier in this celebration of nerdiness. If you wanna know what I'm talking about, stay tuned to this video. This content is sponsored by BCW Supplies. Visit them at bcwsupplies.com. Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. In this video, we are going to embrace some nerdiness. As I said in that intro, I have spent parts of my life trying to separate myself from being associated with anything that is nerdy. But as I've gotten older, I have learned to kind of embrace it. And part of it is, let's be honest, nerds have inherited this earth. And what I mean by that is if you think about all of the movies that are coming out, the Marvel and the DC movies that are coming out, the TV shows, it doesn't matter what channel you watch, there might just be a comic book related something or another that pops up on that channel. Whether you're talking about public TV, cable TV, or Netflix, or even the internet, we are there, right? And everybody looks to us to tell them who that character is, why that person is significant, what is going on. We have inherited the earth. And so I am embracing my nerdiness. But I'm gonna be honest, what I'm doing right now is pretty darn nerdy. I don't know about you guys, but I have struggled in many ways to keep my comic book collection organized. And it's one of those things that as soon as you get it somewhat organized, you go out and you buy a collection, or you run into some crazy deal, 50-cent book, dollar books, you get a great deal on eBay, you hit an antique store, and next thing you know, you're walking out with, dozens of books. Or what oftentimes happens is that you still are buying new comics and they just build up in one box, and then you realize you've got a short box or a long box full of new books and none of them are in any kind of order, and then you've got to go back and reorganize. So I found myself, struggling with trying to keep my collection organized. And another thing that I somewhat struggle with is always remembering the significance of a book, right? A lot of times if you get a book slab like the ones behind me or the ones in front of me, the details of first appearance, second appearance, third appearance, so-and-so died, cameo, a lot of that's written on the label. But in the vast majority of my collection, which is still raw, I sometimes can't remember the significance of one book versus another, especially if it's been some time since I've actually read that book, or if the book isn't a major key, right? Because that's oftentimes what happens is everybody knows, for the most part, the significance of like the books behind me, right? Even if you don't own those books, you kind of sort of know. But let's just say some random Avengers book or random Fantastic Four book, you might not remember the significance of that. Maybe it's a signed book in your collection that is signed on the splash page and not on the cover, and you have 5 copies of it. Which one is the signed one, right? My point is that organization of a collection and remembering the significance of one book versus another book can be a daunting challenge. And so as someone who buys collections and randomly comes home to, 100 books sitting on his doorstep, I find myself always trying to play catch up. So one of the things that I'm doing to help myself out is I was about to say I went out and got this. That's not true. Just in case my wife watches this, I made a statement about wanting something, and my amazing wife knew that I would probably never buy it for myself. She actually bought it for me, placed it in the comic book room, so when I came home one day, this amazing device was waiting for me. This is a Brother I don't even know what you call this thing. I don't even know, a label maker maybe? Brother label maker. It is, because I know you guys are going to ask me, is model PT-1890. Model PT-1890. This is a really cool label maker. And you can probably talk to a lot of people and not one of those people will ever utter those words, a cool label maker. But this thing is awesome. What I have been doing is I have been using this label maker to actually put labels on some of my comics. So literally what I've been doing is going to Key Collector app, because that's just easy to use while I'm sitting on the sofa at night. I'll pull up the book on Key Collector app. I'll look to see what the significance of the book is. I'll type it into my brother label maker, and then I will, spit this thing out and I will stick it on my book. And so I'll show you a couple of examples of what I've been working on in this this short box off to my side, using some books from my buddy TJ Watson. Because if you saw that haul, TJ hooked me up with some books, some of which I knew the significance of right away. Others I didn't necessarily know, so I had to spend some time doing some research. But in doing that research, it made sense just to go ahead and throw the label on this thing. So this book right here is Amazing Spider-Man number 5. This is the king size annual, and the significance of this book is that it is the first appearance of Richard and Mary Parker, Peter Parker's parents. And so really cool book, awesome cover. And if I ever forget the significance of this book, all I have to do is look at my label right at the top. So I'll show you a couple of other examples in here. And again, I'm kind of running through this really awesome AOK that TJ Watson sent over to me. Here we have Thor 168. Right? Does that ring a bell? Thor 168. Maybe one or two of you out there may know the significance of this book. And even if you saw the cover of it, you might not still know the significance of this book. Yeah, Galactus is there, but it's also his origin. And so I put origin, Galactus right at the top of this one. If there are spelling errors, do not tell me, because that will hurt my heart. So this next one, Tales to Astonish. I actually almost bought this book the day before the AOK arrived from TJ Watson. But this is Tales to Astonish, number 52, a really, really nice copy. The one I almost picked up looked nothing like this. This is actually the first appearance of the second Black Knight. I guess there was another Black Knight that would also have a first appearance, but this is the second Black Knight's first appearance. And again, this would be a book, maybe you would know that this was Black Knight, but would you know that it was the second Black Knight's first appearance? Maybe, maybe not. So here you go. So I've been doing this for a couple of weeks, and what I'll do is I'll actually sit on the sofa at night. I'll kind of look the books up, I'll print off the labels, and then I will go ahead and put them on the bag and drop the book back into a bin. And so some of you are probably watching this video and you're probably like, well, why don't you put it on the back side of the book? Part of the reason for that is when I'm actually looking through books, I don't want to have to pull the book out, turn it around, and look at the back to see what the significance is. So for me, it doesn't necessarily ruin the aesthetics of the book to actually have it on the front. That actually doesn't bother me, but I could see how it might bother some people. So what I tried to do is, in most cases, position the label near the top, kind of across some of the, the ancillary words that might be in a title. So this one covers up Prince Namor, but this is Submariner, which you can see, number 6. This is the second appearance of Tiger Shark. Just a gorgeous cover, gorgeous book. You would probably know that that is Tiger Shark, but again, would you know that it was his second appearance just by looking at the cover? So this is something that I've been working on, like I said, for a couple of weeks now. I rather like it, and I think it actually helps me tremendously. So if I'm flipping through one of these bins behind me or one of these boxes off to the side of me, it's super easy to kind of flip through, see the book, know the significance. And so, what I've been doing is labeling first appearances, second appearances, origins. I've been labeling some of them signed because I have some books that have actually been signed. So I've been making those kind of notations on these books as well. Trying to see if there's other examples, and I don't think that there are other examples. So this Brother Label Maker, I don't think it was all that expensive. I think this thing was less than 30 bucks. It actually came with 2 cartridges. I think I put the largest cartridge in there, and then it also comes, no, I actually put the smaller label cartridge. It actually comes with another, and you can actually see roughly how thick from this side, maybe how thick the label is. I actually went with the smaller version, so it's a little bit thinner, which I sort of like, versus the thicker, which might actually cover up more of the wording on the actual comic. And so I think it's a really cool option. I looked it up. The labels come in clear, and then they also come in an assortment of colors. I personally like the white because the black lettering on the white label pops off of the front cover. I'm not sure if I would go with anything else because it might blend in a little bit more than the white label does now. So anyway, I wanted to offer this up to you guys. This is one of those things that I've always kind of wanted to do with my collection, but I've never gotten around to doing it. And I think my wife knew that I was never actually going to pull the trigger. I was just going to talk about it, which is why I think she took the initiative to actually do it for me. And it was a wonderful surprise to come home one day after work to find this thing in the comic book room. And I tell you, I immediately, that night, I went to work and I went through, I think, 2 short boxes, looking them up on the Key Collector app, and then printing off the labels and sticking them on the books. It made a huge mess, because you have the backing on the back side of the labels, and then there's the little clippings off of the edge. Made a huge mess, but it was definitely a fun project. It's something that I'm trying to do little by little, every few days or so, and my hope is to continue working my way through most of my collection. So this is one of those things, super nerdy, that I just wanted to share with you guys, because some of you out there may have a similar struggle with either remembering the significance of a book, or just kind of keeping things kind of organized and sorted, because over time, as collections grow, it becomes harder and harder to kind of keep things organized, either in the room or in your head. So I hope that this helps somebody out there. As always, guys, I want to thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Be sure to visit BCW Supplies to learn about their 950 plus products for collectors. Products include card sleeves, display cases, comic bags, storage boxes, and gaming folders, just to name a few items. Head over to bcwsupplies.com today for more information.